So I suppose the challenge with this track was to make something that would stand up alongside stuff like Beyonce's new album, the kind of country urban crossover thing. Hey guys, so this is a track that I was commissioned to make recently by an artist called Dejon, who was launching a new fashion brand and under the name Hazel Jean, which is named after his late mother. And it tells a story of growing up around fashion and really how he got into making clothes because he was inspired by his mum. And so the brief for the tune was to combine like country flavors, a bit like the new Beyonce album, like soul country crossover, a lot of urban sounds, a lot of more dance music. It's a really interesting challenge putting it together. I'm just going to talk you through the main elements that I've got going on in the music here. First off, the drums, which are quite choppy, tight, layered, and a bit lo-fi. I didn't want anything too EDM or too modern. This is a vintage inspired tune. It's telling a story of nostalgia and it's coming from the past. So I have given it a modern kick drum, which is very kind of inspired by Beyonce, but that's... And that comprises of this beat layer. I've got this percussion layer. Which is just sequencing different drum samples from my sample library. I'm just finding like interesting little sounds and chops and samples and processing things. So they occupy different spaces. So some are right down the middle and really small, and some are a bit more spread out and a bit more like odd and distorted or whatever. So they're layered up together with the kick drum. Really cool. The track. It's got this interesting percussion layer here. Not sure where that came from. Anyway, then we've got more percussion bits happening in the next section. A little bit out of time percussion. A little bit more abstract and disorientating. A couple of rises going into this section here. Quite banging. So yeah, that's a quick brief look at the drums. Next up, let's look at some of the bass, which is actually just two elements, really simple. Didn't want the bass to be too dominant in this track. Just like a bit of bass guitar with a bit of chorus on it. A little bit of weird reverse chopping there, and then we've got this bass synth that takes over for the verses, sorry, for the bridge. Very like techno, Euro house. So it's a melodic bass line. It's got long notes and short notes. The phrasing is a kind of a nice call and answer thing with the vocal. So that's the bass. I'm using I think I'm using a Prophet, and then that's the bass guitar. So a combination of real bass and synth bass. Quite a lot going on in the synthesizers and keys, but ultimately it's a combination of more mysterious, atmospheric pads and some more effective pianos, like this one here, like this kind of weird delay piano. That rhythm is really what pins the verses together, and then a melody. Next section. And an organ sound. There's guitar on this bit. I would say the synthesizers primarily in this song are bass filling, atmosphere, and allowing the harmony to exist. There's not really like lead synth sounds in this. A couple of moments where it gets a bit kind of leery, like this transition here. And then the piano takes over there, which is a nod to the kind of more classic house. 2 layers of piano. and to kind of give the track some air and scale, like something's happening in the distance, and make it feel a bit bigger, I've added this high string sound, very far away feeling, holding the chords. So. And I really like how that high sound contrasts with this staccato guitar here. If I take it off, the thing feels a bit... It's cool. It feels a little bit empty, a little bit smaller. And, you know, all I'm doing on any of these parts is just playing simple chords. There's very little technical stuff going on. Cool. One soft Juno sound, holding the chords down, and one choppy sound here. This isn't really planned out that much in advance. I just knew I wanted some synths and some organy type sounds. I was going to base them on old school sounds, more vintage synths and stuff. So I've really just picked those sounds as I've gone along and shaped it together, and then added a bit of guitar. And I like odd sounds in tracks that you would never have in anything else. So this is like going on, stuff like this. In the background, but it's still adding this kind of odd textures and weirdness, which you don't hear maybe the first time you listen, but the more you listen to it, you kind of get, oh, what's that? Anyway, I love the synths in this. There's lots of different things going on, but nothing too like dominant, which I like. Guitars. Some of this is inspired by the country vibe, particularly the slide sound. I've kept quiet and I've panned it, but it gives space, and it's a little bit of a nod to like country and western records with like pedal steel guitar. I've got this arpeggiated fake guitar using an arpeggiator and a guitar plugin. And then coming into the chorus, staccato. First half of the chorus, second half of the chorus gets bigger, and these guitars come in. Just doing the chords, nothing else. Adding width, that guitar texture, which is unmistakable, but just tucked away in the background. You know, you can tell they're there. You know, they're adding that sort of human, strummy thing. I can't really explain what I mean, but this comes in again later. Those little choppy bits and the drums were done using various plugins to like create these little moments, transitional moments. That's a quick whistle stop through. There's a longer video about this song on my YouTube channel, which you can watch. Go and subscribe to that. I do all these mixed breakdowns as a way of inspiring people who are self-producing, showcasing a little bit of my production work, and, you know, telling people about myself, but also allowing some of the music that I make to reach different audiences. So if you do like it, let me know. If you're a songwriter or an artist and you want to work with me or discuss your music or have some feedback or whatever, have me write you a track. I'll be happy to answer your messages. All right, cool. Bye.